this episode, we're going to do some more customizing to Maybelline with adding some traditional lake pipes down the side of the car. These will just be for cosmetic aesthetics, not functional. But what I want to do is add a few extra touches to it. Like up in here, we have to repair the fender anyway because of rust. So what I want to do is French in the exhaust of the lake pipes, or some may call it tunneling, to where it'll disappear into the fender. And this will all be sheet metal that I fabricate to encase it. So let's get started. Okay, so we got the car safely up on jack stands. Now we can start working. One thing I want to address about the car is I don't like this exposed inner fender area. It sticks out further than the fender. I'm not sure if I can do something with that, but I'm gonna try. What I'm also thinking is when I run the lake pipes into the fender, I want them to continue on the inside towards the engine compartment. So I'm thinking of cutting into here and recessing the lake pipe exhaust halfway into there. At least that's the idea. I'm going to take out this inner shield. I found some bolts that looks like I scrape off the undercoating and I'll get access to it. And then we'll continue on with that. And then my thoughts for the rocker panel, I want to cut the bottom half off. And then I got this 2.5 inch heavy wall piping that I want to use as the inner rocker and outer rocker, which will also French in the lake pipes up where the fender is. It'll be a little more clear when I start working on it and I can explain it a little better. So let's tackle this inner fender and go from there. Okay, so we got the outer rocker cut off, and you can see here the inner rocker is rusted through. So we're gonna cut that out, and then I'm gonna use this 2.5 inch piping that I have to form a new inner rocker and outer rocker at the same time. So I cut a sample piece of metal here. This will simulate this pipe when I cut it in half. This will go up in here. And then this 2-inch piece replicates the lake pipe that I'll be putting in. And that will go like that. Just to give you an idea, as we go along, it will become a little clearer as to what I'm doing here, so bear with me. All right, so we got all the rocker trimmed out. Now we'll fit the 2.5 inch outer piping in and see where we're at. Gotta trim a little more here. All right, so if this gives you any idea where we're at, this part here, I'll be keeping the full diameter of the pipe, which will be the Frenched in part of the lake pipes, the tunnel, if you will. From here down, I'll cut this pipe in half, take off this outer piece, and that will leave us just the inner curve, which the lake pipe will sit into, recessed. So now I'm going to mark out roughly the part of the lower fender that I want to leave Frenched for the exhaust, and the same back here. I might leave that for the quarter panel and do the same technique where it's wrapped around the whole pipe. So this part I'm going to cut in half and take off. And then on the bottom, I'll have a heavy plate steel going from the bottom of the pipe into the inner rocker structure of the car to cap that off. Okay, so you can get an idea now what I've been trying to do here and explain. So this cutaway will have, say this is the lake pipe, will be nestled in there. I'll make some brackets or hidden bolts to hold that in position, and then it will slide into the front part where the fender is, where it's Frenched. So it disappears into the fender. Might do the same thing in the back for the quarter panel, not sure yet. I got a few ideas I'm working on. So this will get tucked up tight here and welded to the original outer rocker, what's left of it. And then I'll make a plate for the bottom to lock that into the original inner structure of the car. So it'll be strong. It takes care of repairing all the rust damage, and at the same time, a nice custom touch. That's gonna be real nice. Can't wait to finish it. All right, I'm gonna get this cleaned up to bare metal, get some etch primer on the areas. I'm kind of winding down for today. It's starting to get dark out soon, and I'm doing this all outside in my driveway. But we'll continue on tomorrow, and we'll keep going. Well, I got all the paint ground off. Got the outer rocker down to bare metal, but it looks like someone had previously welded on a patch panel at one time and just tack welded it every few inches and put some body filler over it. Probably gonna cut all of this back out and start fresh with my own metal. I'll have to think about that tonight. But that's where we're at. I'm gonna put my tools away for today and start back tomorrow. Okay, so I'm back on Maybelline today. We have a couple of new things we got. One being the microphones, trying that out. And more so, we have an exhaust tip I want to think about using for the car with the lake pipes. Has a shark fin style tip on it, which I really like, something different. These are actually for motorcycles, so I'm going to try and incorporate it into the lake pipes for this custom car. I'm thinking something like this, and I'll splice it into the rest of the lake pipe, which is why I was thinking of Frenching it in back here to hide the seam where I splice them together. I might have to French it into the quarter panel a little bit to recess it. So that was one of my ideas I had, and I was just waiting for the parts to come in the mail, so we got them. Also, we talked about how this was previously patched. I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to use the piece of the pipe that I cut out earlier from the main inner rocker pipe I'm going to use. And I'm going to cut this to replace this, and at the same time give it a little radius to meet the radius of the pipe, so it has a little more flair to it, literally and aesthetically. So let's get this cut out. Actually, I'm going to fit the pipe back in, tack weld it, and then get a true read to where I want to cut this. It's going to be a good day today. All right, so we got this piece cut out. This will serve as the upper outer rocker. We'll weld that to this lip here, and then it's got the rolled edge leading to the pipe, the 2.5-inch pipe that we're going to weld in for the inner rocker. So next we'll get the door open. I'll clean up this edge in here to weld, get a couple of tack welds on this for location, and then get the pipe fitted once again. Hopefully a couple tack welds on that, and keep moving forward. Okay, so we got to take off this sill plate, get that out of our way. And then this here will be the lip that we want to get cleaned and prepped for welding. These screws are actually coming out quite nicely. Quite a few of them, but they're coming out. So once we get this taken off, we're getting closer to final fitting. There's a lot of prep work involved in doing this custom work and planning out and trying to remember the procedure and an order of which to do the things needed. Of course, we got one screw that's stuck, the last one. Always the case. Not a problem. Just get some more tools, the old vice grips. There we go. Works every time, the old vice grips. So this should lift right off. There we go. A clean machine under there. Not too bad. All right, we'll get this ground clean, get it all vacuumed out, and we'll go from there. All right, so we're gonna fit everything once again and hopefully start tack welding. I want to be able to locate, basically clock this in, index it where I want. Since I can rotate this, I want to determine where my rolled lip is going to meet. So we'll do that now. This will give us a general idea of where we need to be or want to be. Actually, that's pretty good there. I'm going to rotate it a little bit. All right, I'm going to go with that. Let me get a tack up in the front corner, and then we can work our way back from there. All right, next I want to make sure we're all on the same parallel plane. We're not crooked in any way. Basically, I'm probably going to base it off the door sill rocker. Okay, about 1 7/8 inch, 1 5/8. So the back has to come down a little bit. Got my adjusto block here. Just making do with what we have around. Again, I'm working outside here in the driveway. 1 7/8. Now, I'll put a couple more tacks to keep this pipe from rotating. And then we'll fit this panel in again and get that tacked in. So let's get the welder fired up. Okay, we're moving right along here. Next, I want to get this fender profile cut into the tube, roughly, something like that. And then I want to work on patching that area and at the same time creating a little swoop to it. So I'm thinking of making use of that metal we keep cutting out of here. Why not? We have it. And it's got the perfect radius, I think. So I'll trim this piece, get it to fabricate in there, and see how that looks. So I have this piece roughly cut out for here. But first I want to trim this back. What I want to do is mimic this angle and put it over here. So I'm going to do a rough guide here with my combination square. Slide it on over here. And for now I'll start at the furthest point, which looks pretty nice. It lines up with the curve of the door. Mark that. So I'll trim that back to give it a little more style than just a straight cut for the exhaust. I like it. Now that we have this line established roughly, we can go back in with this piece and do a little more trimming on that. So I marked here to continue this angle. I'll make a slice in there, a relief cut. On here, transfer to the fender to cut out that part so this sits flush in there. Right now it's kind of fighting us to get a true read. So we'll do that and keep going. No stopping us now. Here's a close-up. It's got a nice sweep to it, which Frenches in the lake pipes on the lower portion of the fender. And then the lake pipes will go through there. Actually, by doing this, I also cosmetically lowered the side of the car by an inch with that 2.5-inch tubular pipe I put in. Brought it down almost an inch lower than the original rocker panel. So it gives the illusion that the car has been lowered. Another bonus feature of this. All right, so this thing is strong already without even putting the plate underneath. And that thing's rigid. And I'm going to cap off the bottom later on. So now what I want to do, now that I got the fender locked in position with the Frenched in lake pipe portion, there's an idea I've had since the beginning. I want to put slots in here so that the chrome lake pipe shows through in those areas. And I want to mimic, I think, this angle that I've cut into each end. So I'm thinking maybe 3 of them. So it's going to have a kind of like a loose interpretation of shark gills cut into them. So I think I'm going to start tracing out a pattern and lay it out, see what I like, and go from there. got the bulk of it cut out with the grinder and the cutoff tool, but now I got to do some old-fashioned hand filing to get it dialed in to where I want it. So I got the 3 cutouts basically done. I'll do a little more detailing on them and fine-tuning the shape later on, but for now we got the general idea. And to give a little bit more of a visual, I'll mist on some red paint and slide in the pipe to show you what I've been trying to achieve. So imagine this piece being the chrome lake pipe. So there's the effect that it would give. I like it. All right, now on to the back. Might do a similar setup there. Let's go take a look and see what we can figure out. On to the back. Got the front basically where we want it. Let's see what we can do in the back now. Like I said earlier, I got these, I think they're cool, shark fin exhaust tips from a motorcycle. And I want to use them in the back portion, splice into the lake pipes. So I'm thinking keep this in line with the back here and have this much exposed or something like that. Do a Frenched in area here, and then I can splice the front half of the lake pipes into here and you won't see it. That's my plan. Let's see if we can make it happen. All right, let's see. For now, for starters, we'll cut about there. For now. And I'm probably going to keep that same angle that I've been carrying through from the front and mimic it back here. So for now, we'll do a cut. I still have this set at the same angle as the front. Probably going to cut this back here also. Just don't know how much yet. Stay tuned. Hang in there. Okay, before I slide this in there, I want to protect the chrome. So I'm going to put some tape over it. Better safe than sorry. Getting stuff re-chromed these days is very expensive. So I got to trim more of this pipe. It's hitting the fin. A lot of trial fitting with this kind of stuff. Okay, so now it's hitting the quarter panel. So now I get to chop that off. I was hoping that would happen. Actually, that's not too bad there. We got a little more trimming there. Let me mark that. I almost forgot. Maybelline here, she's also been known to wear skirts at times. So I have to take that into consideration when I'm fitting this. I have her Fender skirt here. This will go roughly in here. Actually, that's going to work out nice. You can see how this little curve continues downward, and the fin basically continues and picks up on that. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Actually, I like it a lot. This could be the only 60 T-Bird that I know of with shark fin lake pipe going down the side of the car that's Frenched in. One of a kind. So you can see here I outlined the fin, because I'll probably have to cut that out and recess the sheet metal on the quarter panel to mimic that, which just tells anyone that's looking at it that this car has been custom fitted for this exhaust tip, which that's what it's all about, right? One of a kind, uniqueness. I'm gonna slice this pipe back. I got too much showing here. I want to show more chrome here. So that's what this line is. And this one here, I'm just kind of estimating for now. I'm going off of this here where it starts to curve up and following this down. So this will be cut off. This here, I want to put the shark gills into it. So I'm going to take the front. I made a template. So I made a masking tape template of the front gills that I already cut in. So I'm debating to do 2 or 3, something like that. What do you think? Comment down below and tell me if you think we should do 2 or 3 or none, or scrap the whole project. I'll tell you that's not going to happen. We're going through with this. But before I do that, I want to repair the lower quarter panel, similar to how we did the front fender, where I'm going to take a piece of that piping that we cut earlier and trim it to fit there. Again, to give us a radius to flow into this pipe here where it's being Frenched into the quarter panel. So I'm going to go ahead and get that all cut up and trimmed and fitted and tack welded, and then we'll go back to the gills. So I got this piece cut out for here. So I think I'm going to hold off on this just yet. Give it a little more thought and probably go back to the front and address that and finish up that area. What I'm thinking of doing is taking some round rod. I think this is 1/4 inch, and rolling it around the edge of the pipe, which will give it a little bit of a flare, rolled edge, and at the same time carry it up into here to transition the two pieces a little better. It's just a thought. I think I'm going to work on that next. All right, let me explain what you just watched there with the whole procedure of how we got to here. So I first started out with some round rod that I heated up on that piece of pipe that you saw clamped to my picnic table bench to get this contour here. Once I got that established, you saw me tack weld that in position and then heat this portion of the round rod and bend it and shape it over this pipe to get the contour to match. Tack welding it in position. What this gave us was a nice finished rolled off edge, and at the same time, because I offset it, it has a flare coming off of this pipe, which will lead into that chrome lake pipe. I finished welding these two seams, ground them down, hand filed. Basically, the weld disappears when I blended it into this piping. Minimal body work will be needed for this. What else did we do? You might take notice to this piece here. If you didn't see the last episode, which I recommend checking out, when we put in the Buick portholes into the fender. This was a previous patch from years ago. I'll probably address that later on, but right now we're focusing on the lake pipes. Oh, here I finished welding this, and with that round rod, it gave me just the effect I was trying to achieve with a little offset in here to kind of break it up from where this meets this. I'll bring the camera in closer so you can take a look for yourself. So here's a close-up of what we did so far. You can see it gives a nice finished look as opposed to just a straight piece of metal like that. And then up here in the corner, that's recessed in, and then it tapers up towards the body line of the fender, or the fender to door gap, I should say. And then it just kind of has a nice sweepy flow down. And this here's where we welded in the lower fender piece, the shark gills. And if you look at this angle, you can see what I mean with how it's flared out from the pipe. Just a little detail that sets it off a little bit and gives it a much nicer finished appearance. So I still have to deal with this part, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Where we last left off before I did that was in the back, trying to fit the shark fin and decide where on that pipe I want to cut the other gills and French that piece of pipe in. So let's get back to that, and now that we have some inspiration from this piece, kind of why I went through and finished that, and we'll go ahead and try and achieve the same look in the back. A little warm out today, so I'm taking an afternoon break from the custom lake pipes for Maybelline. Let's take a look at the temperature here. Looks like it's about 90 degrees in the shade. Not too bad. Show must go on. Can't stop me. We're gonna keep customizing this car and who knows what else. So follow along and consider subscribing and click the notifications, and you won't miss a single episode. And now back to the action. So we're back here again. What I'm going to do first, which needs to be done regardless of what I do here, is put in this lower piece here to patch the bottom of the quarter panel that has some rust, and also to meet up to this outer rocker that we replaced. So I got this piece trimmed. I'm going to mark it out on the quarter. I'll cut that out, get this welded, tack welded in, and then we'll keep thinking about this area. Here's what we're going with. 2 shark gills, and I'm going to trim this back a little bit here and there, and that's it. Here it is, and looking good. I just have some final shaping to do and filing, and then after that we're going to move to the back end and recess the quarter panel for the fin to lay into, and then that should wrap up the back portion of the lake pipes, and we'll get back to the front and finish that up. We're back at it today. We last left off, I was cutting these gills out. We had a rainstorm coming in last night, so I had to cut things short, get things in etch prime so bare metal wouldn't rust up. So today's a new day. We're going to work on cutting out this back portion of the quarter panel to recess this tailpipe fin, because right now it's touching the quarter panel. So I want to recess and French it in. So I'll fabricate a patch for that, weld it in, and keep on going. Here we have the piece trimmed out. What I'm going to do next is take some 1/4 inch round rod and weld it along the edge and shape it to this contour, which will make up the difference that it's set back, and at the same time give us a nice rolled edge and carry through that theme that we've been doing throughout this whole process. So I'll fire up the torch and the welder and get this piece fabricated. All right, there it is, or the start of it. You can see how that round rod just gives it a nice flow to it with a radius instead of a sharp corner edge. What I'll do next is I'll weld all in here solid, grind that smooth, then we'll take it up to the car, fit it, and get it welded in position. That's real nice. I like it. Got it in position, looking good. I fitted the pipe. I like where it is. I'll go along and tack weld it. Take another fitment, fully weld it, grind it, sit back and enjoy. I gotta tell you, it's another hot one out here today. Work on my tan. All right, where is it? All right, let's test fit the pipe once more. It's looking good. We're going with it. Here it is. Here's the results of what you saw with the grinding and the welding and the shaping. We have the nice recessed area to accommodate the exhaust fin. And then leading into here, we have a nice rolled concaved edge where I welded this patch in, rolled it into the pipe. What I'm going to do next is take some round rod like we did in the front, finish off this edge and this edge here, give it a nice rolled flare. So let's do that, and then we'll fit the exhaust pipe one last time. Well, the results are in of all that grinding and welding you just watched. So let's take a closer look at what we've been doing. We'll start back here with the recessed area of the quarter panel for that tail fin of the lake pipe. It's set back in about 5/16 of an inch. We still have a few more pinholes to weld up, but we'll tackle that later on. And then it sweeps down towards the Frenched or tunneled area of the lower quarter panel. You can see that rolled edge there that we got with welding that round rod. Then we have the gills cut out and shaped. And then the same treatment up front with that round rod, giving it a nice flared rolled lip. Gives it a nice custom detail touch to the car, a little something extra. So now that we've got that roughed in, we'll tackle the front portion of that inner fender we talked about earlier. So let's take a walk up there and see what we're doing. But before we do that, how about we slide this pipe in and take a look at everything? I like it. Looks good. I love this part here. The rolled edge, the recessed area. That looks sharp. I love it. Looking good. Definite, unique, custom touch right there. Glad I did it. All right, on to the front. I want to cut this out, or more so create a tunnel to where I can run the exhaust pipe essentially in here, yet still have it exposed. So I'm going to start cutting out this area. It's got some rust anyway, so it needs to go. At the same time, we'll give it a custom touch with the pipe. So let's start cutting. So I got this cut open to where I can fit the pipe in. Something like that I'm looking to do. I want to cap this off, but I want a smoother, rounded transition. So I got this exhaust elbow. I'm going to cut a portion out of here and graft it into here and blend it. And then when we get that established, then I will take more of this tubing that we got from when we did the rocker panel, which I'll use to basically tunnel the chrome lake pipe into in this area. So I'll probably cut this in half like we did on the side, recess it into this cavity, weld it, which will also put back any structural integrity that I had cut out from this piece. And then we'll see where we're at. All right, so I'm going to start working on this area, and I'll get back to you after that. All right, so I made a paper template for this inner fender well area, transferred it to some metal. So I'm gonna fit this, get this tack welded in position. Then we can continue on with this pipe here. All right, we got that piece tacked in. Now I trimmed out the pipe to expose the chrome lake pipe that will be set in there. And we're going to do the same treatment around the edge with the round rod. So I'm going to tack weld it in place, heat it with the torch and shape it for the front and back. Get it in position, and then I'm going to take this piece of pipe out, which I just have tack welded in at the moment, and finish welding all of the round rod flaredness outside of the car where I can get better access to it. So here we go. One more time. Here's what we ended up with after all that grinding and shaping. You can see Hear that nice rolled edge with the flare, which will lead into the chrome lake pipe that sits in here. And then the other end, we got the same rolled edge effect. Nice custom touch. So now we'll get this back fitted into the car and tack welded in position. So I sprayed some primer on the back side of this since I can't get to it once it's welded in. So now let's final fit it, weld it, and that will start wrapping up the fabrication of this whole lake pipe setup. We're in the home stretch now. Don't go anywhere. All right, I got some reference marks here from last time for an easy alignment. That looks good there. Excuse me while I weld this. All right, there you got it. Looking good. I like the rolled in Frenched effect of that pipe going down the whole length of the car. I can't wait to start putting in the chrome lake pipe soon, very soon. All right, I'm going to finish welding this up, and then we'll move on to the next last piece of fabrication of plating the bottom side of this, and then the metal work is done. Okay, stick around. So we've had a great day of progress, and I'm not going to stop now just because it's dark out. So we're going to weld through the night and see if we can get this to the next stage. Here we go. Well, we had a successful night of welding, and we got basically everything done in here. We got the pipe here with the elbow blended in. We got the inside patch here fabricated. We got this part of the exhaust tubing welded in. I'll bring you in close so you can take a better look. So we have a nice smooth transition. Everything blended and molded together. All welded and ground down. So in here will be the chrome lake pipe exposed in the inner wheel well. So very happy with the results. Now we can move on to the underneath of the whole rocker sill, where I'm going to plate it with some 1/8 inch steel plate. I'll bring you in closer to take another look, or actually the first look at what I'm talking about. You can see this is the exhaust tubing that we welded up to form the outer rocker. What I want to do now is I had already cut out some of the rust down in there. We'll get this all cleaned up, and I'm going to put plate steel all the way down under the bottom to give it a finished off look, as well as adding some structural integrity to the bottom side. So we'll go ahead and get the pieces fitted for that and get them tack welded into position. So I have the pieces cut out that we'll be using underneath the rocker to cap that off and plate it. I have them pre-cut, shaped, and I also cut in notches for the water to drain through. A lot of these cars have tiny little spots that plug up easily with a leaf, so I oversized them to avoid that from happening as it comes in from the cowl and drains down behind the fender. This way, plenty of room for it to drain. So I'm going to get these in position, get them tack welded underneath. I got them in two pieces. Got the front one there, and then the back half put in over there. So I'll take you under the car and we'll get started tacking those in. Got that plate tacked in all the way from the front to the back. I'll go back and fully weld it, grind it smooth, and give it a finished off look. You can see the drain holes all the way down, nice and big, better than factory. This way stuff actually will drain out of them instead of clogging them up. I also pitched that plate steel on an angle towards those holes to help persuade the water and debris to flow out of them. Yeah, I see the hole too. That's for another episode. Don't worry, we'll get it. But for now, basically all we have left to do is get the lake pipes Frenched in and cut to fit and put them into position. So let's go get them. So before we put the lake pipes in, I want to just spray on some red paint just to help give the effect of the ultimate finish that the car will be once we paint it red. But for now we'll just do this. So I'm going to start with cutting the elbow off of this lake pipe up front, which we don't need. I'll get a straight cut there so I can slide it in, so I can mark it back here for the length. So let's take it over to the chop saw and chop it up. All right, so now I need to make the critical cut on the tail fin section, and I want it to, the best I can, match the same angle that I cut on the main pipe. So what I did was I took some masking tape, made a template, marked the top center and top center on this. I'm going to cut the tape off and then wrap it onto here, and that should give me the exact angle cut that I need. So there it is. Let's cut it and hope for the best. All right, we got the fin trimmed. Let's slide it into position. See how close we are. Actually, that's going to look real good right there. Maybe up a little further. Right about there. All right. Looks awesome. What I can do now, I can weld my seam right behind this piece here that I strategically located. This way it gives the illusion of a one-piece lake pipe. So I'll do that now, and then we'll move up to the front and finish off the piece in the fender well. And now for the final piece, right in there. I made a cardboard tube template to get my sizing. Now I'll transfer that to the chrome lake pipe section. This was cut off from the tail fin, so we're using what we got to complete the look. All right, get that there. Give it a slight roll, and in we go. All right, we got it in there. Oh, that looks real nice. I like it. I like it. All right, so right now it's floating in there. It has some adjustment. So what we're going to do is I'm going to locate and drill a hole on each end of the pipe for here and the side pipe. And then I have these countersunk screw heads I'm going to use, and a tiny jam nut that I'll weld the nut onto the bottom of the pipe, which will act as a spacer and also a spot to lock it in with. So we'll go ahead and drill these holes, get the nuts welded on, and get these babies bolted in for good. So here's what we ended up with. You can see what I was trying to explain with welding that little nut onto the pipe. It will act as a spacer and a place for us to bolt it onto the car. So I'll go ahead and put a little paint on this area where I welded so it won't rust. Get this back into the car, and then do the same thing for the side of the car, putting a bolt up front as well as the tail section. So let's get to it. Well, we finally got it done, and it looks great. Another custom touch to check off Maybelline's list. We got the lake pipes Frenched into the lower fender and quarter panel. We got that unique shark fin tip exiting out the back. We got the wraparound exhaust going in through the inner fender well. Just sitting back, relaxing now, taking it all in. Got my glass of lemonade and thinking about the next custom feature that we're going to do to this car. Might be working on the door next or possibly the hood, so be sure to check back in with that one. If you haven't subscribed or hit the like button, consider doing that. I greatly appreciate it. Let me take you in closer now and we'll get a better look at what we've done. So that wraps up this episode. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Looking good, Maybelline. Looking good.